Hello, I'm Jirius Shaheen, a licensed professional counselor based out of Missouri, and I'm going to show you today a diagnostic assistant that I built, this web app that you could find and test for free at the moment called pioneerdiagnosis.org. What this will do is it will allow you to input information and it will help you determine or better determine a diagnosis for your client, a mental health diagnosis. So this is provides structured reasoning alongside your own clinical judgment. This is serving as a counterbalance to this major AI shift that's happening in our industry, so that it does not just fully go to AI, but instead there's a clinical judgment component. My hope is to counterbalance what's been going on. So you're going to capture de-identified intake. Um, you're going to be provided with any sort of differential diagnoses, and you'll be able to export a defensible reasoning report. So the clinician remains responsible for the final diagnosis. This never collects PHI. Please do not put any identifying information, de-identify everything else. And this is for licensed mental health professionals only. It's not going to do you any good if you're not in the industry, in the field, or licensed. Please don't use this to self-diagnose. It'll be difficult to go through and understand. So it'll have you log in with your Google account, and what it's going to do once it logs in. I built this with Lovable. It's a web app builder. It's going to start off. You can see I've got one here that I entered in already, but I'm going to start from scratch. I'm going to label this new case label. We're just going to use any initials. So I'm just going to put KM for my purposes. So new case. It says here, use de-identified label only, never include client name, date of birth, or identifiers. Now we got our new case here. So we'll open it up and we're going to start entering any pertinent information that's going to help. So we could say they're an adult, assigned at birth, they're male, perhaps they are from uh, Spain, let's say, Spanish origin. We'll say that they are a Walmart worker, living situation, lives with family, presenting concern, 6 months, post move, depression, anxiety, symptoms, loss of relationship. Let's say this is 6 months. Onset, post job loss, we'll say, and that it's worsening. Some of the symptoms: depressed mood, maybe intrusive memories and flashbacks, inattention, maybe avoidance, excessive worry, dissociation. For functional impairment, difficulty getting to work on time, issues with self-care, showering less, maybe issues with recreation, loss of interest in recreation. We can pick a couple other items over here. We're going to add relevant medical conditions, perhaps ongoing use of THC, daily, once per day, in the evening. We can add current medications. We'll just put none for now. Substance use, any sort of pattern, frequency, frequency of use. So we'll put use of THC only at this time. We can add family, psych history, trauma history. Again, everything needs to be de-identified. So I'll add on here just a made-up ACEs score of 2. We can check mark risk indicators. We can add any sort of other assessment scores that maybe we got. We'll jot down here. PHQ-9, score 11, prior diagnosis. We'll put no prior diagnosis. We can put our own clinician working formulation. We can add here, I'll just type out client experiencing, the symptomology that they might have. Again, just very basic dynamics, struggling new job relationship status. We'll put moderate anxiety, mild depression, and we'll submit. And this is the second portion. This is the reasoning model of the process. You've done your intake information. So we can type in and engage with this reasoning model. It gives you a prompt there to share your initial clinical impression and ask the assistant to begin walking the differential process. So you'll see here how that works. I'm giving it just a very basic overview, struggling with life transitions, loss of relationships, moderate anxiety, mild depression, ongoing substance use. I'm going to see what it kicks out. It's taking the information that I entered in from my first tab, that intake component. Now it's going to start reasoning through the process. On the right hand side, you can see it's creating some differential diagnoses with criteria checkboxes. You can see a percentage score of confidence level in those diagnoses on the right, whether PTSD or adjustment disorder. Um, it's giving you a basic kind of kick out of what, based on what you've shared, it thinks it might be. It's not giving you exactly, it's just pointing you in the right direction. And it's telling you the final diagnosis remains in the clinician's responsibility. So it might ask you to clarify some things to maybe get a better, more specific answer, or better specific kind of dimension or domain to fall into. On the right here, like I mentioned, the use of differential diagnoses. As you answer more and more of those clarifying questions, you'll get a clear picture of what the diagnosis could be and some differential diagnoses as well. Um, so on the right-hand side, we see PTSD, we see adjustment, we see major depressive as sort of areas to start exploring, cannabis use disorder. Each one has a drop-down that you can click that'll give you more of a checklist criteria component. When I click on each one, it'll give you some more information, just like the one on the top. At the bottom, it'll tell you some risk identifiers that were flagged, maybe some further suggested assessments that you might want to consider. So if I give it some clarification, thank you. Um, let's clarify a little bit about the ACEs score. Give it a little bit more information that maybe we left out, or to kind of point it in another direction. You could say here the client indicates that this ACEs score really isn't impacting them much or creating any sort of dysfunction. We can say the severity of the symptoms are indeed worsening from the client's perspective, and we can explain to it the onset of symptoms, where that was. It was the job loss 6 months ago. So we're giving it a little bit more clarity to work off of. This is really for new clinicians to begin engaging with diagnosis and help understand the different pathways and what to consider, what to think of. So right off the bat, it's telling you, well, the clinical picture is kind of stepping away a little bit from PTSD, and helping you get a little bit more direction. You notice on the right-hand side, the percentage, the confidence percentage started to shift up and change a little bit. Uh, Major depressive disorders at 40%, PTSD dropped down to 20% based on the information we gave it. So it'll tell you the next target steps. Let's consider this next thing. And so we can give it some more information. Sure, we can go back and forth. Client describes what their flashbacks are like. As a supervisor, you might not be there nonstop, 24/7 to help with uh, every step of the way of a diagnosis 24/7. So this helps the clinician practice a little bit and then check back in with you on a weekly basis to review these. But it's just a supplemental tool. So we're giving it here a little bit more information about what the flashbacks are like. They're more like daydreams, really. They're not anything super pertinent. Give it a little bit of information about the THC triggers, helping understand what the dissociation is like or isn't like. And so it's going to do the same thing. We can go back and forth as many times as we want for it to really hone in and focus on what it might be. But you get the gist. So it's given us here a response back, client's description of flashbacks, their short daydream-like states. It's given us another next targeted step if we wanted to go further. And each time, if you see each time, it tells you the final diagnosis remains of the clinician's responsibility. We don't want it to diagnose the client. We want it to help us see the steps towards the diagnosis that we might be providing. Here we can see at the top right, the percentage changed yet again for each diagnosis. I'll show you which criteria maybe now it's check marked or which ones are missing. This really helps with ruling out various diagnoses and deciding which ones to keep. So the good thing about this process is that you're able to engage with this in a way that's very intuitive, user intuitive. It gives you a two panel view. What do you need to consider? It's not just giving you an answer, it's giving you something to work with and process and sort of chip away at. It doesn't just give you the title; it gives you the criteria when you drop down on each item. It's always good to have your DSM with you, obviously, but this is giving you those criteria check boxes right there, and it helps you feel a little bit more confident in what to look for and maybe what criteria, what section of the DSM to explore, look through, what assessments to consider, um, what components, and you may be very new to where you don't know some of these assessments that they exist. You can then export your report into a PDF if you want kind of a final version. If you want to tuck it into the client's chart or file, you can do that. So really, it's all around just a useful tool. if you want to give it a shot and test it out, feel free. It doesn't cost anything right now. So that's Pioneer Counseling, or I'm sorry, pioneerdiagnosis.org. My website is pioneercounseling.org, and you can check out my website as well if you'd like. Uh, so I appreciate your time. If you want to email me, it's pioneercounselingstl@gmail.com. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out some of the other videos that I've got online.